Hey guys, welcome to another episode of Area 51.
Hello, folks. What's happening, Rahul?
Nothing much. I'm actually pretty excited about today's episode. It's something that ever since you pitched it, excited me quite a bit, and I am super stoked to jump right into it.
I know. I mean, it's something that probably any Indian immigrant has probably been exposed to at some point in time, just the name or even, what they are.
Cutting right to the chase, guys. Today's episode, we're going to talk about an Indian business empire in US that I think has grossed $50-60 million annual easily, or even more. We're going to talk about it, and you're going to see that it's essentially the size that it is right now, just because of one man seeking relief or trying to satiate a very basic human impulse, his hunger. What are we talking about, Sanjay?
We are talking about the one and only Patel Brothers. It is, and now. For those of you listening who have heard our other episodes may think, what has this got to do with H-1Bs and immigration? It has a little bit of stuff related to it, but it's mostly the story of an Indian immigrant and how they've built a massive empire. And the crazy thing about this business group, Patel Brothers, is that they are very much private today, and they are very private people. Like, I don't think they've given any media interviews at any point of time ever since they've started, right?
I spent weeks trying to find some, but the closest I could get was the fact that one of the owners had appeared on one episode on ZTV. That was like some 10 years ago or something.
Oh
and
my God.
Many of the articles, most of them ended with a line saying, we reached out to the owners for comments, but it looks like they're too busy running the empire to respond back.
I mean, that's a pretty badass way to say, like, I'm too busy and too rich to give a damn about you.
But I want to share a personal story, man. When I moved to Rhode Island, I spent a couple of years in Houston, Texas. I loved it there.
Sure.
There was enough things, Indian related in that state or that city for me to not miss home too much. If I needed Indian groceries, it was there. If I needed Indian food, it was available. And then suddenly a job assignment took me to Rhode Island.
Okay.
The biggest thing in my head when I was moving was the fact that, will I be able to find Indian food? Because food is a big thing for me, right? And as I'm Indian, I need to have that comfort food very frequently.
Yep.
Will I be able to find Indian groceries? So my first week I came and I was all depressed.
Okay.
I searched around and I found an Indian grocery store. It was some tiny hole-in-the-wall place.
Okay.
Absolute trash. Okay.
There
was like stale vegetables and fruits. And I'm like, oh God, I have no clue how I'm going to survive here. A couple of weeks later, I found out that there was a Patel Brothers 25 minutes from my house. It's my first time going there. I've never been to Patel Brothers. Okay. So I made the trip. 20 minutes later, I see a multi-story building. I was like, whoa, what is this? It was one of those, super center equivalent of Patel Brothers. Happened to be 20 minutes from my house. So I entered and I'm like surrounded by shelves and shelves of Indian food, grocery items, biscuits, fruits, everything, vegetables. And I was like, oh my God, that sense of relief.
I know.
When I entered, I was like, oh, I'll be able to survive here.
Yeah. There's this sense of that you're at home, it's those recognizable brands and even the style of the supermarket itself. It's not like fancy, super like utilitarian, clean like Trader Joe's or like a Target or whatever. It's
pretty clean.
Well, I wouldn't call the one in Boston here in Watertown as good though.
Okay, great. Yeah. First lawsuit coming up.
We've had a few lawsuits come in already. But yeah, like other than that, like I think the biggest pull towards a Patel Brothers store is just that like the name you associate with back home. Like it is something that's so unique to India. And the name itself, why? Because Patel is such a common surname in India, like especially for folks
and in US.
And in US. That's a good one. That's a good one. Yeah, I mean what do they have, like 50?
Did you remember
plus?
that clip, the commencement ceremony clip, where they had like in some university, I don't remember where, some 20 names they kept calling out. All of them were like Patels. One after the other.
It was probably somewhere in Chicago, I'm assuming.
Or New Jersey.
Yeah, or it is in New Jersey. Yep, that's definitely a place. But yeah, back to like why Patel Brothers? Because I think they are one of the oldest Indian-run, Indian-related business in the US. Now, obviously, our listeners can correct us if you have done
in
bad
my
on
opinion,
research.
Dude, I think the only. I don't think there's any other brand that comes as close to the brand recognition that Patel Brothers has today in US, at least for an Indian immigrant.
So I would disagree with that on one point. There is one brand, but the thing is they are a wholesaler. It's called House of Spice India. They are based out of New York.
I don't know about that.
They
I just proved myself right.
They started around the same time as Patel Brothers did as well, but they are into the wholesale business, but they have like a ton of brands and their own names that they sell.
Okay.
If you
anything popular?
Have you heard of the Lakshmi brand of those dals and spices and all that? It's all them. They are doing I think an 7 or 8 figure business as well. So they're pretty big, but they're under the radar now.
But that's it.
That's pretty much it.
That's
all
insane.
The other players in the Indian grocery market, they are low level with probably less than a percentage point market share or something like that.
The game, huh? Wow.
Yeah, Patel Brothers runs the gamut. And the crazy thing is they have this sort of vertical integration because not only do they have the stores, they own the distribution of so many popular brands from India as well.
And also once you listen to it, you will find out that a lot of brands that you thought were actually coming from India are actually Patel Brothers original brands that are in-house.
Yep.
They've got quite a lot to. When I read it, I was like, damn, they own this? So if House of Spices started around the same time, and it's nowhere close to the growth or the level that Patel Brothers is, what was so unique about their growth story, Patel Brothers' growth story? What did those two brothers do that was so different or that stood out?
I mean, I haven't gone as deep into House of Spices yet, but maybe a future episode we might do something on them. But one of the main use cases for Patel Brothers is they were one of the earliest folks to focus on this very small niche segment of new immigrants coming to the US, and that is Indians. And you're talking in the 60s and 70s.
Yeah.
Mafat Patel, the founder of Patel Brothers, he moved from Gujarat to India to do an MBA degree.
Gujarat to US.
Oh, sorry, Gujarat to US. Never mind. In 1968 to do an MBA from somewhere in Indiana, if I'm not mistaken. And then he moves to Chicago for a job and he gets all homesick. He just doesn't find his dals and rotis and
he
whatever.
Didn't want to go to Hardee's and get a $1 burger like I did.
And like I did as well.
But a point of contention there. Some articles that I read said that he came for another engineering degree. So
okay.
I actually, I found the MBA part and I found this and I tried looking.
Okay.
But since he's never given an interview, we don't know which one is right. We'll assume the NDA is because it sounds cooler.
Okay, now you said you moved to Rhode Island. Let's assume there was no Indian grocery store there. What are the odds that you'll think, oh, there's no Indian grocery store? I'm going to start one. And this is this is in the 60s, right? America has just opened up to folks to India with the new Nationality Act in 1965. So it's literally just started. Things have just started.
Yeah.
Today you have 3 or 4 million plus Indian immigrants.
Influx of similar-minded people around that time, right?
Yeah.
And I'm guessing he saw that it was a common problem because if when they opened up the gates, you will have tons of people moving, and then you probably his colleagues or his friends, everyone's like, "Shit, man, there's no dal anywhere." Or there's no spices, or I'm not trying to make fun. I'm just saying they probably found that there was a lack of these ingredients.
Oh, yeah.
I was watching an interview. There's some celebrity chefs in US. Okay. Indian celebrity chefs in US. They came on KBC. My dad was watching.
Okay.
So one guy was at one point decades ago, it was very hard for them to find curry leaves.
Okay.
Yeah, because I think they had banned it. Curry leaves or cilantro, one of those leaves. I don't know which one either, but very integral to cooking. And they're like, it's very difficult for us to get fresh ones.
Okay.
Because at one point, the government had banned it and said no one's allowed to sell or grow or bring it. And we're all just scrambling, trying to find out, where to get it, what to do.
Okay.
So these things now, we're just taking it for granted, right? If I want curry leaves to cook something, I'll drive 15 minutes, go to the grocery store, pick it up. Or cilantro, whatever it is.
Exactly.
Back then, I'm sure it's probably not as simple or easy as it is right now.
Think like this, okay? Like in the 60s, you had the whole Vietnam War and Steve Jobs doing LSD. It's all in California. It's the anti-war sentiment. And Mafat Patel, the ultimate revolutionary, is breaking the law by growing curry leaves at home. Not marijuana, curry leaves. But yeah, I mean, he was like maverick, for the lack of a better word.
He was a quality control engineer who decided that there was not enough quality food in US at that point, and decided to start his own business. And
so he found a small store in Devon Avenue in Chicago, I think in 1971, but he needed help to get it set up. So he asked his brother Tulsi, who's in Gujarat, to move to the US so that they can, run that business. I'm still curious what sort of visas were available at that point in time for somebody.
I'm still curious how he communicated. Must have wrote a letter, right? Just back and forth would have taken like 2-3 months.
Maybe that's why the entire process took like 3 years or something.
Hey, Tulsi, you want to come open a store? Why? Then write another letter back.
took him 3 years before he and his wife decided to move to Chicago in 1974 and help his brother start the first store.
First one.
Yeah, it was like
So the owner of the previous building, his name was Ramesh Trivedi. He had a storefront on Devon Avenue.
Okay.
That was like run down, poor insulation, and basically he just wanted to get rid of it. And he reached out to Mafat Patel and said, "Hey, do you want to buy it?" And I was like, "Yeah, let's do it." And that was the first store.
Have you been to Devon Avenue in Chicago today?
I have not. I bought Old Monk from there, but I've not. It was a friend was leaving. It was a going away gift for him. So a couple of my friends were visiting Devon Avenue. Say they bought back a bottle of Old Monk for $50. Can you believe it? $50. Wow. That's how much I spent.
Wow, that's crazy. I bet you'd find a lot of other Indian brands like alcohol as well there. If you haven't been there, you should definitely.
You've been there?
Yeah, I have a couple of times.
Is it comparable to New Jersey?
Yes, it is very much is.
Oh.
It's pretty much the same thing. Like you park there. Once you've parked your car, like you walk into the street. All of a sudden, like it's like you're transported back to Mumbai or something, you know. It's like you don't see a white person or any other like non-brown person there. Like it's just all brown all the way. So yeah, it was.
Once you go brown, you don't go back.
Yeah, I mean, I gotta admit, like I don't know how things were in the 70s there, but converting an entire street into like India-styled theme.
So they said this store was actually a beacon for that. Like the first store popped up. And then just because of how popular it was, more and more Indian stores and other shops started popping up around that thing. And then within a decade or so, they're like, the entire street is now just culturally Indian. And the store that kicked off, or the people that kicked off that transformation of that street, was both the Patel brothers.
Yeah, it speaks to their business savviness, right? Like I was reading like some of the stuff where these guys, they would have full-time jobs and take shifts running the store along with their wives and come back, and they do deliveries and stuff for their customers late into the night.
They would deliver too?
They would deliver to at 10 p.m. in the night and stuff. And you're talking Chicago winters, which are crazy. And it speaks to the, you know, how much they focused on the idea of that, you know, getting that customer love and customer appreciation.
Yeah. Also speaks to the resilience that literally every immigrant in US is shown to just survive and make some money to their name and build a legacy so that future generations can actually take and carry that forward. So it's fascinating. Yet after one full-time job, I'm like exhausted. Take shifts, deliver.
Exactly, right? So I mean, it definitely speaks to them. Like there's a lot of hard work built into what it is today. Like some estimates say they make close to $140 million a year in revenues. It's pretty crazy, right? It's such a small market. To give you some context, Amazon groceries takes up only 3% of the US grocery market. And so you can imagine like Indian ethnic stores like 0.00 some single digit percentage, and they've like conquered it. Like they have pretty much a monopoly on it. And today,
so
I think
one transformative thing that actually got a lot more people in was the fact that these guys apparently perfected some chapati or roti making machine. Right?
Oh.
Yeah. And I read that a lot of people, they want rotis, but it's just so hard to make it. And you've got like a family of 4 or 5, go through like some 20 rotis. No one's got the time. So these guys have a roti making machine there. I've seen it in Dallas. I haven't seen it in the one near my house, but they just churn out freshly made rotis. And so a lot of these South Asian folks, they would go there and pick it up. And that actually increased the footfall by quite a large percentage.
Wow.
And it's crazy. When I think about it, I'm like, yeah, if I had the opportunity 15 minutes to get like fresh rotis, I'd probably make trips down there at least twice or thrice a week.
Yeah, exactly. I've heard the same thing. Like it's still there in one of the biggest stores in Nashua, New Hampshire. I've never visited the place, but I've heard it's a really
it's there in a lot of stores. That one in Dallas has it. It's still there. And they've actually expanded it. It's not just rotis. They've got a lot more other food options there like that they've made fresh.
Oh, okay. Interesting. Okay. That's the thing. Like it's one of those like
very innovative, right? Yeah.
Yeah, and tiny customer pain points that you solve, and that creates this sort of like network effect or like flooding for more folks to come and visit the store and buy other things.
It's like that. There's a presidential candidate in US. His name is Vivek Ramaswamy, I think.
Oh yeah, he's the Republican guy.
Yeah, he's Indian origin, but there's a clip of his that's recently gone viral. It's like the 16-year-old went to him and asked him, "What can I do to be successful?" Right?
Okay.
And Vivek pauses for a second. Okay. And then he's like, what you need to do is figure out where the pack is heading.
Okay.
And then you need to find out what is lacking in that journey. right?
Okay.
Fill in that gap, success will reach you no matter what. He just summed up exactly what the Patel Brothers journey has been from start to this thing, right?
Nice. Yeah. That's very well put. It's
Yeah.
like seeing where the puck is going to be. Like
Yes.
that famous hockey player Wayne Gretzky. Like he's the one who said that, right? See that and then you attack. But yeah, I mean, there's a difference between talking such stuff and actually doing it. These guys like build this into like an empire. What 60 plus stores or something like that today? Most of it in the Midwest and East Coast.
Yep.
And I think there's just a couple on the West Coast.
I also like the whole keeping it in the family business model that they've had.
Yeah.
Very Italian mafioso style, you know. Most of the franchisees or most of the employees, they all are somehow connected to them. And they actually help out financially if a store needs help.
Yep.
So some of them, sometimes they fly down to help out. It's a very in the family, kind of business model these guys have been running for the last couple of decades.
I read somewhere that they have brought, I think, close to 350 family members into the US who they'll help them get set up and eventually like get them to run a store or like set up a store of their own. And well, yeah, it's exactly what you've said. Like this idea of building out the entire family, like over a couple of generations. It's fantastic. And it also
I wonder if they've beaten Osho yet in getting a large number of brown people to the country.
That's a good question. Maybe we need to do some research on that.
The wild east, Mafat Patel.
I mean, but yeah, he serves a genuine customer need. And from what I understand today, like they've diversified in tons of other businesses, like air travels.
Yeah, their kids.
Yeah,
their kids
handicrafts.
Very instrumental in actually expanding the family business drastically.
One of the main reasons why they started growing was in the 90s when the kids, one of them was a Rakesh Patel, or like I forgot the other one's name.
Rakesh.
That he ends up doing his college thesis on processed food or something along those lines.
Yeah,
and he finds out
and processed food.
And he finds that there aren't enough Indian-based TV dinners. So he ends up starting this whole new brand called Raja Foods, which is a little bit narcissistic that he named it after his own nickname, according to some sources.
I found out that he named it after his friend.
Wow. Okay.
Well, this is a plea for you guys. Come out and give an interview because there's a lot of rumors and facts flying around, guys.
I know. And we'd love to have you on the podcast. We are big fans of...
Nicely played.
Yeah, Patel Brothers. And like you get free marketing as well. Not that they need it. It's pretty cool that they build this whole business of prepackaged foods like matar paneer and all that stuff where you can just microwave
samosas,
it.
Bro.
Samosas, yeah. And I think Swad was one of their bigger brands as well that they built out.
Can you believe it? Swad is actually a Patel Brothers brand. You know, when you see that Great Value Walmart brand and you're like, this is Walmart's brand. We didn't know that Swad is actually Patel Brothers' home brand.
Exactly.
Apart from Swad, you've got Anarkali, all that rice and stuff. That's also their own brand.
Wow. I didn't know Anarkali was theirs as well.
Yeah, it's theirs. They have 7 brands.
Okay.
Out of which 3 of them are original, which is Swad, Anarkali, and there's something called Patel's Celebrating India.
Oh, okay.
That's also theirs. I've never seen that till now, but I've definitely seen Swad and Anarkali.
Yeah, Swad is everywhere. Like anybody who's gone to an Indian grocery store and probably picked up any lentil or like some dried food product, it's probably there's a Swad,
But it's really funny. The kids actually growing up were not super excited and proud of their family's heritage in groceries, especially the daughters, Susan Patel.
Yeah.
Like, they kind of tried to rebel against that a little bit, but I think Rakesh and Shwetal got into it much quicker, and Susan took some more time, but then she too is now part of the family business. Now she heads the Patel Handicrafts and Utensils.
Okay. Yeah, I wouldn't blame her. Like I'm thinking, like I'm trying to like see where she comes from. Like you're talking the 80s and 90s. You're probably one of the very few handful of brown kids in school,
For
in
sure.
Chicago.
Yeah.
And imagine you're bringing some Indian food to lunch or something.
The bullying would be insane, right?
Yeah, the bullying would have been like out of this world, and they would have not want to be associated. And then like you're going back and working in the store, your clothes probably smell or something like that. It would have been like pretty traumatic for them. I mean, it's understandable that they wouldn't want to associate themselves with.
But it's kind of cool that they're so heavily invested in the business now. Like, even though they had that rebellious phase and everything, they've come back and they've taken over the reins from the parents and from the previous generation, and they've taken it to like greater heights. I mean, Raja Foods was essentially Rakesh and Shwetal's brainchild, right? They've they've exploded Patel Brothers brand into like new levels.
It's crazy. So while I was doing some digging, I found out that Raja Foods is primarily the big importer company for Patel Brothers, and they typically have 226 shipping containers per month delivered to them.
226?
Yeah. Now, in the grand scheme of things, for large grocery stores, that's not a big number like Walmart or
But
whatever.
every month?
Every month. That's the average number. And this I got from like checking out bill of lading records and, the HOS codes that's publicly available, shipping records that you can query and
They
search.
want to file a restraining order against you, man. Bill of lading, it seems. My God.
And so to give you folks some context on how much that is, that's almost 3/4 the size of a football field, the amount of groceries that area takes up in a month that just Raja Foods imports into the United States. That's other than some of the domestic stuff that they do.
This is only packaged and processed. Do not confuse and think that groceries and fresh fruits and vegetables are included in this.
Exactly. This is like just mostly brands that come from India or like, their own like subsidiaries in India that make their own products. There's also stuff that happens here as well in mainland United States. Today, that might not be the case because it's just more cheaper to get it done from India. And I
wonder if they import anything from China. They're pretty funny.
Fun fact, they do. Like not just China. Some of the countries that they import from, like after Gujarat, one of the largest states that they import from in India, the third biggest place they get their stuff from outside of the US is Salalah, Oman. There's a very big supplier of Patel Brother products. So I can definitely say that there's probably some Swad products that are made out of Salalah and then,
Well, makes sense. I'm guessing there would be some tax-free benefits as expatriates if you operate out of the Middle East, right? I'm sure.
Yeah, probably. And I would think it's just like cheaper labor. Like, here you got to pay somebody like full-time benefits and all that stuff. It's just cheaper to get it from there. But the caveat being that things like FDA approvals, that typically takes time is what I understand. They've obviously been in the business for like 5 decades now. So they've probably perfected that route and it's super easy for them.
It's funny you say labor. You looked at bill of lading. I looked at something else. I looked at H-1B approvals from Raja Foods. Guess how many H-1Bs have been filed through Raja Foods for the last 10 years? I went back 10 years.
I would think like at least a few hundreds, if not thousands or something.
Yeah, I thought the same. 3.
Okay. As in 300?
No, as in 3.
That's it. 3. Yeah. 3 H-1B applications.
That's it. I would have thought they would be extremely high on like visa approvals and petitions and filings and stuff, right? But apparently not. They filed 3, out of which 2 of them are like accountants. I got the salaries too. The annual salary was 4 or 5 years ago was like $45,000 for accountants.
They pay cheap.
And I think there was some finance controller or something. He had like 110, 120K. But that's it. 3.
Wow. That's
right.
That's unbelievable. Like you would think like you want to support your own folks, but screw that.
Exactly. I spent some time thinking about it afterwards. When you go to any Patel Brothers, you will see that 85 to 90% of the staff helping there are from India.
Correct.
Right. And then you'll see some, I think 10% mix of people from maybe other Southeast countries like maybe Pakistan or Bangladesh. And then there's a few percentage of folks from Mexico.
Yep.
So what visa classes are these guys on? That 90% of the Indians were there.
Well, either green cards or maybe like it's the inside joke that we tend to talk about where there's an alternate economy that happens that powers America.
They're all, exceptional at groceries and EB1.
Could be that as well. I'm imagining.
It's crazy, right? I mean, when you actually correlate that with the numbers, I'll be honest, I thought, like you said, late hundreds to thousands easily. But because they have 51 locations.
It's 60 now. Like I think that was in 2015.
60 locations. And they're like, I think Devon Street, the old original the store that started all, they're renovating it. It's like a $2 million renovation. They're making it a big store. They're making a big store. And they kicked it off, I think, 1-2 years. I don't know where it is right now, if it's already done of his. I'm like, oh shit, there'll be quite a number of folks from our land on visas here,
Apparently not.
Apparently not.
Wow. I mean, that's crazy to think. Like just 3 applications in the last 10 years. Wow.
Yeah. I'm going to get a restraining order too.
I mean, on the other side, now this is all the good stuff. They've also been up to some interesting, shady business practices as well.
I think it was brilliant. Just FYI. The first one that you're going to say, I loved it.
It's so funny that like when I read it, like it was like, what? This is just unbelievable. I can understand like, okay, you know what? I'll just talk about it. So one of their earliest lawsuits was in 1994 by this person named Devon Street. And this person was one of the largest exporters of basmati rice from India to Western Europe and the United States. So this person's been in business in 1994 for probably 20 years already. So he's a big guy, giving this whole David Goliath sort of a view.
1994. So by now, Raja Foods has already been established.
Yep, Raja Foods is already established. Okay. And they have started a decent sized store in Atlanta in 1994. Okay. So until then, it was just Chicago and New York and New Jersey. But now it's in Atlanta as well. So, you know, they're gaining pretty good traction. And so Devon Street's lawsuit essentially said that the Patel brothers had infringed upon his trademark on one of his basmati rice products. Okay. Now you'd think it's like rice, it's all the same. Like, so what difference does it make? So Devon Street has this very popular basmati rice brand named 817 Elephant Brand. Okay.
I'm trying really hard to laugh silently here.
And the logo is a blue elephant with two concentric circles, the words elephant brand in between those circles. All right. And 817 is also displayed on it. Now, guess what Patel Brothers did? They started a new rice brand with the name 718 Blue Elephant that features a blue elephant inside an octagon.
Are you serious?
Yep. That actually happened. I mean,
mic drop. That's Mafat Patel showing a big finger to Devon Street. F you.
And if that isn't the biggest F you to a competitor, like literally killing them, I can't believe what else is.
This is up there with Jeff Bezos selling diapers for 90 cents to kick out diapers.com.
I know, right? It's the Gujarati equivalent of that. And this happened before Jeff Bezos did it. He was doing it in 2000 or something. This guy was doing it in the 1994, before the internet as well. So
he was the OG.
Moffat's the OG. And so, yeah, the thing is, as far as I remember, that they had settled it out of court. Oh, no, actually, Devon Street lost the lawsuit.
He lost
the lawsuit. And it is because one of the reasons was that the court noted that the validity of a mark is a separate issue from the likelihood of a customer confusion, stating that the former is about the mark's ability to stand as a mark. Court is saying this is even considered important, so I'm not going to take up this case at all.
I'm telling you, right? I would pay money to sit in that court and watch the judge and the jury's expression when this case was being tried. Like some of the judges are doing, like Ted Bundy and other cases of, national importance. There's one poor judge sitting and looking at Devon Street and Mafat Patel and deciding the fate of rice.
Basmati rice specifically. 718 elephant basmati rice.
Fine. Basmati rice, that's fine. Yeah. I thought it was Sona Masuri or something.
Well, if you thought that was boring, the next case gets even more funnier than this. And that happens in 2007, where...
Oh, they have multiple cases, huh?
Oh, yeah, they have quite a few. And these are the only ones that I have been able to dig up. There's probably a lot more that's not publicly available. Yeah, maybe it's there. And maybe somebody might send us some information and we'd be happy to talk about that as well. Now, the 2007 one is even more funnier / crazier because this time it's Patel Brothers who's suing somebody else. And they are suing... But
someone had an octagon on their rice.
They probably had a hexagon this time. But Patel Brothers sues Patel Shah Indian Grocery for trademark infringement of the name Patel.
My God.
And one of the arguments, I'm literally paraphrasing the court transcript here. Patel Brothers and Patel Shah Indian Grocery, or even just Patel Shah, do not, when considered in their entirety, look or sound alike. The Sh sound in Shah, as defense counsel noted, the Br sound in brother, both resonate strongly in the ear. This court does acknowledge...
They actually mentioned this? Like the phonetics?
I'm reading off the transcript right now.
My God.
This court does acknowledge that the P and the T sounds in Patel are also strong sounds, but this court finds that sh and br sounds in the second words draw the listener's attention to the second word in each phrase. As a result, to the ear, the two marks are distinguishable and they are different. So Patel Brothers' case is thrown out.
Oh, they lost?
They lost for that case.
Wow, Devon Street must have been very happy.
Yeah, he probably like funded the defense guys. It's like Peter Thiel did the Hulk Hogan thing. Could have been something along those lines.
Just to screw around, we should start a florist shop and call ourselves the Patel Brothers. According to that argument,
okay,
Pet and Pat phonetically are different, right?
I mean, how many cases could the courts be witnessing, like silly little things or like, I mean, end of the day, it's a money-making tactic, I'd assume, or some sort of intimidation for a smaller player.
I wonder if the same judge who did Basmati rice got the same case again.
Him like, not this shit again.
These guys are back. At this point, I'm just going to retire. Screw this. But to be fair, dude, these guys have actually done, like at least Mafat Patel and his brother Tulsi Patel, they've done good stuff to the community too. Like they've helped out. They've actually developed their states in India or their districts, and also in US. There are a lot of organizations.
Lucky Reddy did.
Exactly like Lucky Reddy did. Except that I don't think these guys
killed anybody
went down the Jeffrey Epstein route. Lucky Reddy must be looking at these cases like, what are these losers?
I mean, they're
he had 100 million too, right? When he died?
Yeah, I think like, 70 or 100 million dollars, something like that. But these dudes are chill. It's just business.
You don't mess with the rice. But other things fine, but you don't mess with the man's rice.
I think this idea of being, very much into business is very common among the Gujarati community, right?
I think there are pockets in India where it happens, right? Okay, you got the Gujarati community who are very trader or very business friendly. Then you've got the Marwadi community in Rajasthan, right?
Oh yeah, you're right. Yep.
So I think there are certain pockets in different regions or states where I think they're essentially trader folks.
Correct. It's the same thing in Kerala, like Muslims. They're like super into like trading and business.
Yeah, it's like you've got generations down. They probably started as trade folk. Most of them are like extremely savvy in business. They're all street smart. They're great at hustling. I'm sure every region you go, you got like communities that are like, you can trace back some 10 generations and you'll find that they've all been doing business. So they've all been doing some kind of trade in some form or the other.
And I think like one thing, like I heard another interview on this podcast called The Knowledge Project. I don't know if you've heard it. You should check it out. It's a really nice podcast. They brought this guy called Kunal Shah. He's an entrepreneur based out of India. He built a company called Free Charge and Cred. He's a very smart guy. And
Cred?
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
He's a founder of Cred.
Okay.
He made this very interesting statement that resonated with me. Like one of the reasons among Gujaratis that he specifically said why they are very much into the business is like business failure is seen as a very normal thing among them. Like where you raise money from your friend's family, you try something out and it'll fail. And that's fine. Nobody is going to look down upon you or judge you. And they can go and start something else. And that's always encouraged. There's this familial...
They'll probably judge you if you don't start a business.
Yeah. Oh, wow, you want to go do an engineering degree? You're a loser.
Yeah.
Yep. That's a really good point. And so, that could probably be the reason why they are so entrepreneurial. Because it's crazy to think, right? In the 60s or the 70s, starting an Indian grocery store in the US when there's hardly anybody there.
Yeah.
Either like they had the foresight to see, that long term.
Just like what Vivek said, right? He saw the pack going and he's like, this is a delta. This is something missing. Let's fill that gap right now. And look where it's at right now. 50, 60 locations, 100 million plus turnover. God damn.
Amazing. And private. Like they don't have to answer to anybody.
And private.
No SEC, no board of directors or whatever. They can do as
no
they
visa
please.
issues, just 3 people on visas.
They can switch the 8 and the 7 into the 1 and the 8 and they can elephant a goat and whatever.
Goat.
Make their own basmati brands but it is pretty cool about that. And that's one of the things like that makes this company and this brand and these folks so successful. They've built something out of nothing, which is pretty awesome. And it is the reason why I wanted to talk about it in an episode.
I think when we started this, we didn't really envision this as to be, hey, we will just read out H1B news bulletins or ways to hack the system of the green card. I think the way we envision this is a platform to talk about immigrants and their stories. Yes, immigration related news and all these H1B stuff, that's like a good percentage about it, but that's not the only thing, right? There's a lot more. So I think we're going to continue trying to use this platform to talk about immigrants, their life,
Yep.
Things that we go through, our problems, our highs, our lows. Yes, you will see a lot of immigration news, but I don't think that's the only thing you're going to get from this podcast.
Correct. And for the reason that we celebrate that. We celebrate immigrants and their stories. Yeah. And among Indian immigrants, this is like one of the biggest success stories. Of course, we have folks like Sundar Pichai, Satya Nadella, but these are the stories that most folks
something
won't be aware
outside of tech.
Yeah, and most folks won't be aware of, right? They don't have as much as media exposure as something like tech has.
Because they chose not to. But
yeah, agreed. Yeah, that's true. It is also uncool, right? Who wants to know how a grocery store runs, or like, $100 million grocery chain? Yeah,
that's pretty cool, guys.
Definitely cool. Yeah, and that's pretty much it. It's just a discussion on what Patel Brothers is, how they became, and all the fun stuff they did. Yeah.
To be honest, this actually ties back into a feedback we got from one of the listeners to the podcast. We did the first two, which was Indian immigrant crimes, and we went to immigration updates. Around episode 3 or 4, we got a request from one of the listeners, and person was like, "Could you do one on success stories of Indian immigrants, their journey, their growth, and the success?" And that kind of pushed us to thinking, hey, let's do a nice positive story of an Indian immigrant rags to riches kind of story without anything into like $1 million empire.
Yep.
And I think this was an amazing place to start with.
Yeah, I don't know if it is a great start, but like the story itself is worth telling. Such an amazing story of like a lot of resilience and perseverance. Today, like, it's a synonym for Indian grocery store. Like Patel Brothers, even if they have got nothing to do with Patel Brothers, people say, have you gone to the nearest Patel Brothers? It could actually just mean, have you gone to the nearest Indian grocery store?
It's become a word in the dictionary almost, right? One of those pseudo words like, hey, any Patel Brothers kind of store nearby.
Oh, wow.
You talk in lingo like that. Yeah, dude, I just went to like something similar to Patel Brothers. So ingrained in our lingo also now. And that just shows the impact that they've had on us. Kudos to Mafat and Tulsi Patel and Tulsi's wife Aruna for kicking off such a great franchise. It's helped so many people.
Oh yeah, yep, and helps an entire community as well. It would be so difficult for us to live here without that. And that's pretty much it. So it's a wrap for this episode, Rahul.
Yeah, we hope you guys enjoyed this episode. Give us your feedback. Drop us some reviews. We're always happy to hear from you. Until then, see you in the next episode. Thanks, guys.
Take care, folks.